Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Hopefully, none of you were affected by any of these crazy storms that are heading from the Atlantic or even in this case, the Pacific. So, Godspeed, and hopefully nobody was affected. Again, thank you for joining us today. This particular broadcast is very near and dear to my heart, being a Vietnam vet myself. First of all, thank you all for your service to our country, and hopefully we can help you in the next 30 minutes figure out how in the heck to do business with the government and be able to generate some income to create a better life for all. My name is Michael Price, and I'll be your presenter for today. 30 minutes, hopefully with your questions we'll run over. Who am I? As I already said, I am a service-disabled Vietnam vet. I'm the oldest GSA consultant alive. That really doesn't sound that good, does it? I'm the oldest GSA consultant. Let's leave it at that. I've worked on the beta team for GSA to help develop the programs that GSA is using now. Unfortunately, the individual agencies, when they put out their own procurements, do what they want, and there's nothing really automated about it. Really, why do I do this? I was extremely fortunate in August of 1986 to pick up the phone and make my first phone call, and basically the rest is, as they say, history. Michael Dell answered the phone, and we were off and running from there. So to sum it all up, experience matters. Today's agenda, what you can expect, and I have to be perfectly candid with you, I actually learned some new stuff about doing business with the VA. Doesn't really apply to doing business with the government. It's mainly the VA where there are tremendous opportunities. I believe probably the only agency that has more procurement opportunities than the VA would be Homeland Security. We're going to learn about certification, how to register, how it can benefit you, and something new I just found, how to fund your business. On the non-VA side, there's plenty of places to go. Last week's broadcast discussed the 8A program, which is really nothing more than Small Business Administration expanded. And I found some interesting items that will be immeasurable for your success. And before I go any further, I'd like to remind you, those of you who love pulling down handouts, which is a feature of our platform that we're using now, unfortunately only 5 are allowed. On your view menu on your control panel, make sure you have handouts checked, and they should be near the bottom. You should be able to download those at your leisure. Let's move on. What is CVE? That's really where you get certified. And a lot of the content that we're going to look at today was derived from digging through many documents to find areas of interest for actually both of us. And this is something I didn't know, which happened in 2006 under Public Law 109. The VA has unique authority for us to do set-asides and sole source contracts. I've been telling people for years that sole source contracts were dead. The amount of justification is just absolutely overwhelming for an agency. But I guess it's back. Why should you get verified? Now, before I go into this, I'll let you read it while I'm talking. You really don't need to be VA certified to do business with the government. The VA requires it because if you are a certified veteran for procurement, has nothing to do with your health care, nothing to do with your disability, nothing like that at all. And I was under a misconception of that myself until I did some hour-long reading on why the VA wants you to be certified to do business with them, because it's a club, if you will. If the VA has a large prime contractor and you're certified, you can subcontract with them. Now, the caveat is, if you are a GSA contract holder, you should never, ever, ever want to subcontract with anybody. Why? Good question. You don't need to. You are a prime contractor when you hold a GSA contract. You don't need to be a subcontractor. If you don't have a contract, subcontracting is the way to go to get your feet wet, get in, get some experience, get some sales, get some revenue, then go get your own GSA contract and, or I suggest both, get a VA contract if you're providing any type of medical supply. How do you get verified? This was kind of tough, and I had to dig a little bit to find it. You go to the VA site, and there are so many tabs and links and redirects and everything else. I mean, it's a wealth of information on the VA site, but I found it. It's called Vets First Verification. That link is live in your slides. It won't be live on the screen, but it'll be live in your slides. And they're basically helping you with sole source and set-asides. What are the qualifications? Obviously, you have to be a veteran or a service-disabled vet. You will have to do a number of items to prove that you're a vet. Well, when I was first getting out of the service, all I needed was a DD 214, and I was good to go. It's all changed. Title 38 of the Code of Federal Regulations will help you address the eligibility and more so the ownership and control. That's very important. Next week's webinar is on woman-owned small business, which when I started the company, a very good friend of mine who was an attorney at the Inspector General's office used to prosecute those who would put the company name or company in the wife's name. The wife didn't even know where the office was. It was classified as a woman-owned business. And when the audit came, the wife said, "I have an office?" Not good. Same problem can happen here. Many, many companies will approach you to do a joint venture just to put you on the top as the prime, as a certified veteran-owned business, and they do all the work. Be cautious, please. I can only make so many cookies to bring to you in prison. Let's fund your business. We all know it costs money to start a business, which reminds me of probably one of the more successful businesses in the world, FedEx. I think he started with $2,000 that he did off his credit card. I have no idea how the heck he did that, but he did it, and that's how we go from there. Any questions so far? Please don't be shy. The SBA VA now has what they call lender match. You can look into SBA guaranteed loans, which is what we discussed last week. Those of you who are interested can go to our website and watch the video. There'll be links at the end of the presentation. I believe it's the last link. Shows you all of our videos. And this will be up on the site probably within an hour or two after we finish. Why does the SBA guarantee your loan? I never realized this. I've used it twice. I bought a whole office building one time. back in the 80s. It was fantastic. The car commercials say sign and drive. That's what I did, sign and drive. The bank has less risk because the SBA is guaranteeing 20% of the loan. Now, those of you who have bought a house, condo, duplex, quadplex, whatever, know that you need a minimum of 20% down in order to get a loan. Unless you go VA, then it's basically sign and drive. Lender Match will help you get what you need done quickly. Then we have what's called a Small Business Investment Company, SBICs. There's also SBIRs, research. Those of you doing research, I'm sure that's a very small percentage, but the investment companies, they're privately owned and funded. Think of it as angel financing. I'm very, very leery about advising anybody to get involved with venture capital, because you almost always end up losing control, which means your VA certification goes out the window. And you do have to recertify. I didn't pull the rest of that documentation down. Because it is all private funding, the SBA will guarantee it. And there's a link there that you can read all about SBICs. It's also the full text of the documents are in your handouts. Any questions? Here's one. How often do I have to recertify? I believe I read it's every year, but the recertification is rather streamlined, much like updating your SAM record, which the one thing I noticed about updating a SAM record is everything's already filled in, and it's very difficult to say, well, I need to change this. So it's pretty much streamlined, and I can't remember how many pages there were in your SAM record. I think it's like 10 pages you had to go through. I believe the recertification for VA is much, much shorter. Another question. Do I offer assistance for VA contracts? That is probably the best and most embarrassing question I've ever had asked, and let me tell you why. I've concentrated on GSA contracts since 1987-88. I've given up on all of the open market procurements. I did them when I worked for Honeywell Federal back in the early 80s, and I just decided that GSA, meaning more of an application than a open market procurement, was much easier, much quicker, and a heck of a lot less expensive when you've got to pay somebody to do it. VA, on the other hand, is now finally coming of age, and they're going to start moving their procurements into the GSA e-offer system. They're there, but you can't manage the application or proposal, whichever you want to use. You can't manage those through e-offer. I believe we did one for a service disabled vet for medical supplies, and it was a Word document that you couldn't change anything. It was almost like working on a graphic with blanks. Very, very difficult to do. Extremely. Any other questions? Come on, folks, you got to try my brain here. I know that I haven't been that good at providing all this information. Just for grins to see who's there, how many of you are already VA certified? Well, quite a few. So hopefully I haven't made any mistakes. I try to plagiarize the official documents wherever I can and summarize them so that it makes it easier for everybody to understand. Next question. Do I offer assistance for GSA? Well, folks, I've been holding the next slide because I do have a special offer for everybody today, but I try not to commercialize my broadcasts anymore. I actually had a gentleman last year just ate up all the information, which is exactly what we want to do. We want to give you the free information because it is free. Anybody that charges you for any of this, you don't need to do business with. Just because I can do research, and I'm quite sure quite a few of you out there can do better research than I do. You're in business to do that. I'm in business to try to help everybody understand what, in a lot of cases, is not understandable. So, yes, we do offer assistance with GSA. We do offer assistance with VA, and the special offer will apply to both. And I think you'll be quite pleased based on what's available on the internet. But just remember, anything you're looking at, experience matters. Robert, good afternoon. How or where do we find prime contractors and offer subcontracting services? Good question. Robert, do you have any contract vehicle now that you can work on? Whether it be a sub or a prime, do you have a GSA or a VA contract? Not yet, meaning not yet GSA or not yet VA? Or both, doesn't matter. The bad news is VA takes up about a year, and I actually had a client that has such a revolutionary product, and I don't mind giving them a plug, Acell, ACELL.com. And Robert, I'm guessing that your VA in process has been probably about 6 months so far, or more. It took them 2 years to get their contract. 2 years. And it wasn't our fault. We submitted it within about 2 to 3 weeks after we put it all together. They paid to have us do a site visit, come up and sit down with them, knock out the paperwork, get the product line, get everything going. First thing, VA lost it because, I forgot to mention, you can't submit it electronically. It has to be printed in a binder, like the old days when you do a request for proposal and you submit your proposal. You had to send it to them. They lost it. How do you lose 2 binders? So we resubmitted. Then they couldn't find it. They found it. Now we're at the 6 month to 8 month mark. A year goes by. Then they're back and forth and back and forth. All of my clients do an open ratings report, which is like eBay or Amazon feedback. They wouldn't accept that. They had to call themselves. Actually, they didn't call. They send a fax. Now, question is, how many of you have a fax sitting in your office or at home? Office, probably. Home, probably not. Maybe. They wouldn't even email it to them. They had to fax it to them. So you got to run down to Kinko's or FedEx office, accept the fax, which costs you, what, $2 to receive the questionnaire. Then you got to fill it out. Then you got to turn around and fax it back for another $2, $3. I mean, it's so antiquated, it's not funny. And I actually told the branch chief, this is ridiculous. So last week, I believe it was, I read an article that the VA is finally working with the folks at eOffer eMod to be able to incorporate their, I believe there's 4 solicitations they have into the eOffer system so it can all be done automated and web-based. Robert, good luck on getting your VA contract, assuming that you have something to do with either medical supplies or services. And if you're into some of the other products, you might want to consider looking at a GSA down the road. Now, to answer your first question, which I always pay attention, I may get sidetracked, but I always try to go back where I started. There is what's called the mentor-protege program, which I highly discourage because the major prime contractors that are considered mentors usually just keep the money and don't do anything for the protege. That would be us. I've challenged a few of them over the years, and unless it's improved, it's been about 10 years since I even looked at the mentor protege program. I thought about becoming a mentor and actually was offered an opportunity years ago to be the subcontracted mentor just for GSA. I don't remember where that went, but obviously it never blossomed because I never did anything for them. Robert, after we're finished, if you would, send me an email and I'll try to dig up some links for you on some of the prime contractors. We all basically know who they are, but when you get into the VA side, I can tell you right now, Johnson & Johnson is one of the primes. However, their regulations and rules to be able to become one of their subs is so stringent, they have very few. I had a client 4 years ago that did wheelchair ramps, and he would also do retrofitting for, if you were in a wheelchair, they would take out the front seat and put in a lift. Your wheelchair becomes your seat, your driver's seat. They were trying to do business with the VA before their contract. And just, by the way, these guys were service disabled vets. They finally got certified, but it was either Johnson or somebody else, I can't remember, had a contract to do that nationwide. They wouldn't even talk to them. So we got them their own VA contract, and they manage just their state. And they have so much business right now, they can't afford to move out of their state for any orders at all. But you drive in, go get lunch, come back in a couple hours, and your SUV, your van, your car, whatever is retrofitted for you, including wheelchair ramps for your home, condo, or whichever. Look forward to talking with you on that, Robert. Any other questions? Let me see if I understand this one. I have I'm just going to summarize it. Once I have my GSA contract or my VA contract, where do I go to talk to buyers? That's really kind of paraphrased. As a client, we provide, even though it's available, you can find it on the internet yourself, we provide that document free of charge. Now, for GSA side, we have what they call the GSA marketing directors. They're in all 10 regions. There's actually 12 regions, but they're marked as 10 regions. DC has what they call the National Capital Region, which is all part of Region 3. California is North and South, which is all part of Region 9 or 10. I can't remember. They have North and South. So there's really 12 regional offices, but only 10 regions. Doesn't make sense. But then again, too, the only thing consistent about GSA is inconsistency. The other one is customer service reps. Now, the GSA marketing reps, and I'm sure VA has the same, GSA marketing reps, their job is to help you develop your government marketing plan so that you can succeed. The customer service rep's job is to introduce you to the people that, to make it simpler, quote unquote, write the check. Hopefully that answers your question. Let's move along. For years, I pretty much controlled the pricing of the industry. Now, I can hear you raising your hand going, wait a minute, that's price fixing. No, I set a price and was going up and up and up, but as automation took over, the pricing's coming down and down and down. Our typical, regular, every single day pricing on what you're seeing on the screen is $15,000. If you're a veteran, it's automatically 10. I kind of like lost the bet, so here we are. There's your two offers, whether it's GSA, and I probably should have changed that to say GSA or VA, and I'm going to change that starting next week's webinar. So if you want us to help you, it will cost you $6,000 for the year. Yes, we can structure a payment plan for you. Somebody's already got their hand in the air. That's good. I'm all about saving everybody money because nobody gave me a break when I got out of the service in '73. And yes, I'm old. So you probably haven't gotten many breaks, but let's see if we can work together and get everybody a break and really start generating some revenue for you in the short and long term. Here's some helpful links for you. And as I said earlier, the bottom link is our video library, which is also on YouTube. You can search for us on YouTube. Don't forget to click the subscribe button and the bell to be notified anytime we put something new up. I'm trying to keep everything down to 30 minutes instead of 60 minutes. I had one 60-minute, went 85 minutes one day because the questions wouldn't stop. You'll never hear me complain. There's nothing worse than me telling somebody something that is wrong or they already knew it. So there's no such thing as a dumb question, only a dumb answer. And I try never to give a dumb answer. I have to update our webinar schedule. We have one left, the woman-owned small business, next week. And I'm going to add a few more. If you have any ideas, thoughts, anything you'd like to see in the course of our schedule, feel free to drop me a line. Say, I really want to know about whatever. We'll do the research. I'll put the team on it. We'll do the research. I like to do it myself at about 5:30 in the morning because the phone's not ringing and nobody's bothering me in the office yet. So always happy to try to customize a broadcast for anybody if it's going to help somebody, even if it's one person. Why does experience matter? Take a look at the references, see if you recognize anybody. As you know, we can help you get it done. We're going to probably add another survey. Right now, there's one that says, do I qualify for a GSA contract? I'm very, very intimate with the requirements on what GSA wants. I believe I'm going to probably have to end up doing one for VA also. VA is starting to come of age, especially now that they're going to move over to the e-offer system. And that will be, as they say, a thing of beauty and joy for all. Here's the contact information. Again, all of these links that are in orange are live on your slides that you'll be able to download. Hopefully you've already done that. Any other questions from anything? Even if it's off topic, we can talk about that also. We've got a couple minutes left. Robert, thank you for your interaction and your questions. Nobody's got their hand raised, so we're good to go there. If we're finished, I appreciate everybody showing up. Hopefully you were not affected by the storm. I'll repeat that one last time. And look for us next week. Those of you that are woman-owned small businesses, veteran-owned, service-disabled veteran-owned. I actually had one client that was a hat trick. Native American, woman-owned, veteran-owned. It was beautiful. With that in mind, I'm going to end the webinar for everybody. Hopefully you have your handouts. If not, feel free to drop me a link or an email, and I'll find a link to send you the documents if you didn't get them. Again, thank you for joining us, and everyone have a wonderful day.